Dale. Real life Christianity moment. Haven't done one of these since, March 15th, I guess. Have one to do today. It's another one patterned a lot after a Ron Hutchcraft devotional, which I use a lot of his stuff. I have ended up, I modified this one a fair amount, but it's still want to give credit to Ron. In Acts chapter 16, Paul and Silas are in prison. A lot of you know the story. Paul and Silas are in prison, and the reason they're in prison is because they were preaching the good news about Jesus, and they're in the city of Philippi in the prison. They've been beaten. They're in the stocks, the things where they lock their arms and their feet in the stocks. They're in an inner dungeon. They're in pain. They're not going anywhere, and it's about midnight, and Paul and Silas, they get to praying and singing hymns to God. And it says the other prisoners are like listening to them. And they're probably thinking, never heard anything like this in prison. So suddenly then, the account tells us in Acts chapter 16 that there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. And at once all the prison doors flew open and everybody's chains came loose. Now, Kevin, working in the prison, you can kind of imagine what would happen if that happened down in Huntington, if there was an earthquake and all the doors popped open and all the prisoners could run free. You can kind of imagine what would happen in the prison. I know, honey, that's what everybody would be doing, like, ah! And so, anyway, in Philippi, though, this happened and everybody, none of the prisoners took off. But the jailer, the guy that was in charge of the jail, he didn't realize this, and he was getting ready to kill himself. Why was he going to kill him? Why was the guy in charge of the jail going to kill himself? Because the penalty for prisoners escaping your prison that you were in charge of was the death penalty. And so he was just going to take his own life rather than have the Romans execute him. And he's getting ready to kill himself, and Paul and Silas say, no, don't, we're all here, nobody left. And at that, the jailer comes running in, and what fell down in front of him on his knees, and what did he say? Anybody remember? What did he say to him? I'm not learning you enough here. He said, sirs, what must I do to be saved? Well, Paul and Silas had come to Philippi to preach about Jesus. They had a message of good news, and they were looking for places to preach that message, searching for a platform to speak from, or searching for an opportunity to be able to talk to people about Jesus. I hope that that's like you. I hope that you're looking for chances to tell people about Jesus. But you're not in the city of Philippi. You're in your life. You know what the deal is with your family, your friends. You have coworkers that need to know about Jesus. But how do you get their attention? How do you get the opportunity to have the conversation? How do you find a platform to speak from? An opportunity to share the good news of Jesus with them? Well, you might be surprised, and you might not like it actually a whole lot. God started the church in the city of Philippi by putting Paul and Silas in prison, and then having them go through an earthquake. Probably not what they had in mind. But it was how they handled their prison sentence. It was how they handled the earthquake that opened the door for them to be able to share the good news about Jesus. That suggests a very eye-opening principle, maybe even what we would call an uh-oh principle in our lives. That big problem you have might be the best opportunity or the best platform that you will ever get to tell other people about Jesus. Maybe you've been badly treated by someone. Maybe you have health problems. Maybe you're going through a really lonely time. Maybe you've just recently lost a parent or a spouse. Maybe you're on the edge of financial disaster. Maybe you've lost your job. Whatever your trial, whatever it is, guess what? People are what? People are watching you. And I'd say especially if you make any kind of a claim to faith in Jesus, if you're one of them Jesus people, I'll guarantee you people are watching how you handle your bad situation. Can you sing in your prison? Can you demonstrate the freedom and the peace of soul that only Jesus can give you? Or maybe you're in an earthquake right now and everything in your life is shaking. Things that have never moved before are busting loose. But if you can show that inner peace in your soul when the walls are caving in, you will preach Jesus more eloquently than in any other thing that you can say with your mouth. You're surrounded by people who are in a depression because of their prison, who are in a panic because of their earthquake. As they watch you, can they see a difference in how you handle your crisis compared to how they handle theirs? Can they see the difference in your life? The difference that should be there if you are a true follower of Jesus. If they see the difference, guess what their question very likely might be? Something like, how do you do it? What's the deal? How do you have the hope you have in your situation? I need that, because I sure don't have that in my deal. And when they ask you those kinds of questions, there it is. As we used to say, voila. Does anybody still say voila? I actually had to look it up to see what the deal was. I hadn't said that in a long time. It's actually a mispronunciation of some French word that basically says, there it is. Here you go. Voila! Now you learned something else this morning. Don't worry about remembering voila, but just remember this other stuff. But there it is. There's your platform to speak. Maybe your time of trial in this life, maybe you're going through right now, maybe that's the opportunity, like it or not, that God has given you to tell people about Jesus, because that gives you the platform from which you can speak. So let God use your sick bed. Let God use your crisis. Let God use your unemployment line. Let God use your struggle as an opportunity to tell others about Jesus. God can make it into a platform in that way. He often does. It might be a platform, it probably will be a platform that you never would have chosen on your own. But God has. So use it. You can speak powerfully through the way you handle your problems. And that powerful sermon will often give you a chance to tell others about the reason for the hope that you have, your faith in your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And folks, that is real life Christianity.